So, hello, welcome to stages 6, 7 and 8. It is a triple episode, but one is a very simple issue. So today we are going to be assembling the platform and rear axle, the left hand side storage compartment, and we get a couple of little fun bits, which is a screw identifier box and a screwdriver. Let's crack on with that. So welcome to stages 6, 7 and 8. Now I'm going to do this in a bit of a funny order. It'll all make sense in a second. I'm actually going to go straight into issue stage 8 first, because all stage 8 is two things. We have this screw identifier box and a screwdriver. It's nice when they give us screwdrivers. Obviously I'm an experienced builder, so I've got my own set of screwdrivers. But obviously sometimes people, this might be their first ever build and they literally have nothing to build with. So nice little screwdriver actually. This it feels very similar to the screwdriver that I got with the Harley Davidson, except that this one is green and the Harley was orange. It's got a nice little protective cover on it, which we all know, let's be realistic, that's going to get lost within about a week. Looks quite well made. For a free screwdriver I would certainly give this an A rating, so that's quite handy. Obviously no disrespect to Agora, I'm not going to be using this one because I have my own screwdriver, but if this is your first build and you don't own a single screwdriver, this is probably, in fact it might even replace some screwdrivers that you have got. The second part that we get is this screw identifier box. Again, like the Harley, we received one of these, and they are very handy because what it does, it contains one of every single screw that you're going to need in the build. So if you find yourself with a screw and you're like, oh no, I don't know where it is or what it is, then you can easily identify. These two look a little bit confusing because they are in fact the exact same screw. How interesting is that? So these are both M2.3 by 5 mils, but yeah, so you've got, sometimes it's easier to look from underneath, not in this case. So this is one of every screw, so that is extremely useful. Sometimes they will bag a type of screw up individually, so all you need to do is keep that bag safe and you won't lose your screws. But sometimes, like the Millennium Falcon, they might give you a load of screws and then that has to do you for so many issues. So let's skip back then and we'll go on to stage 6. Now stage 6 is assembling the platform and rear axle, and there is quite a lot to do and quite a lot of parts, almost to the point that I might be regretting doing this as a triple episode. So let's have a look at the parts list. So we have got a rear axle. These bags. So one rear axle, and this is ABS plastic. It looks rather nice. I like the matte black. It doesn't look that strong, so hopefully it's doesn't need to take a lot of weight. So next we have a drive shaft, and again that's plastic. So obviously this drive shaft has got nothing to do with the steering rod, because the steering rod, I'd be very disappointed if that was plastic. But that looks rather nicely detailed. So we've got a platform left side and a platform right side, and I think I'm going to only be able to tell them apart by doing a comparison. So the platform right side has got the number 9 on the right hand side, and the platform left side has got the number 9 on the left hand side. That's easy, isn't it? Then we have a platform back, and that's this piece here. I don't know which way round I think the orientation is this way round. Unassembled, some of these parts don't look very interesting, and this is no exception, but we know once it's assembled it will just all start to light up. So, or pop I think was the word I was looking for there. So we have platform front, and that just has FDNY on it, Fire Department New York. Right, so we have got clear parts. I do struggle with clear parts, identifying them, because they are clear and hard to see. So this is the platform front light lens. Now, at the moment, this looks like 4 pieces on a sprue. I'm not going to cut them off in case I'm wrong, but that does look like a sprue, so I will get my sprue cutters at the ready. We have got platform front lights, and is that off center? Yeah, that's just got ever so slightly bent, so I'm just going to very gently tease that back into place. It is plastic, so if I move it too much it will snap, but I'm pretty sure there we go, I think that's done the job. If that was bent anymore, I'd probably try and use a hairdryer or something and warm it up. I'm not going to take these out of the bags because these are springs. These are 4-axle springs, and springs have a terrible habit of rolling across the table. We have got rear platform light, and that's this piece here. And we have got platform handles. These are very small, so again I'm not going to take them out of the bag till I need them. And then we've got 3 kinds of screws, and these I'm happy with because they put the label on the bag. So we've got 2 type L screws. I'm doing this as I pick them up, not as they appear on the magazine. 4 type C screws. And then lastly we have 6 type A screws. So let's have a little play. I can see that they look the same, and I can see, I mean obviously these are going to be the same, but you know, this is how we're going to use our identifier. So where's L, yeah. So yeah, if we lost that label, we can clearly see that these are not a match, these are not a match, and that isn't a match because the size difference. So it can only be these 4, and I can see that it's L. So that's how your identifier works. So question is, we've been given screws in stage 6, but we get a screwdriver in stage 8. Does that mean we're not going to use these screws? So we will find out first in a bit. So right, we need to assemble the platform. So we need to take the platform front, which is this piece here, and we're going to be placing it down, and then we need to get the platform right hand side, which is the piece with the 9 on the right hand side, and that's going to go into there with 2 type A screws. So that is going to be my first criticism of the build. Maybe stage 8 should have been stage 6, because if you're doing this in order, you wouldn't actually have this screwdriver. However, don't forget that you get this in pack form, so you do receive stage 8 at exactly the same time as you receive stage 6. So I'm going to use this screwdriver just the once, just to see what it's like. Obviously you guys know that I prefer to use my own screwdriver, but you know, they've given this screwdriver, so let's have a look. So as always, I've just popped the first screw in just enough to grab. You can see there that it's not in very well, but that just enables me to manipulate this piece just to get that next piece in straight. And then once I know everything's in properly, I can then go home and then screw them all home. Did that come out wrong? Right, so that's gone in fine. And yeah, having used this screwdriver now a couple of times, I can say that it definitely still maintains its A rating. It's actually a pretty good screwdriver. It's not just a good screwdriver for a freebie, it's actually a good screwdriver. I can see me keeping this in my arsenal and using it for many years to come. So that's that stage done. So I think we can guess what the next stage is going to be. Yes. So that's interesting. So they've turned the part upside down for this next stage, and we're going to get the left hand side. Is it the left hand side? It's the right hand side. I think I might have screwed that in wrong. Right, so let's just double check. We know it's number 9. We've got the logo and we've got the writing, so that is definitely that side. And in fact, this is the left hand side, not the right hand side. So I know I've got that incorrectly. So that's going to screw on like that, and that's why they've done it upside down. I suspect if you are left-handed, you may find it a bit easier to work it the other way round, but not a problem. Just double checking my camera and everything is working, because on the last video that I made I did forget to unmute, which is obviously not ideal. So we'll pop the first screw in, just enough to grab, and I can see that's gone in fine. And that one can go all the way home. Now, because I'm screwing plastic into plastic, I'm allowing the screw to tell me when to stop. Once the resistance increases, we stop. Then we check the part. There's no movement, so I don't need to screw that anymore. If the screw is telling me to stop and then there's still a little bit of loose, then obviously I can go in and I can do maybe another quarter of a turn or half a turn and just do fine adjustment. But look, that is in there rather solid. The bend is coming from the fact there's a hole there, and once we get the whole thing together, I'm confident that would be rather solid. So the next step then is to, guess what, assemble the back of it. And for this we're going to need the, I forget what this is, the platform back, and we need to fix that in place with four C-type screws. So let's check the orientation. So they've got this so that the number 9 is pointing the correct way up, and it looks like we want this to come out with these parts sticking outwards, so it needs to go in this way. So with it the correct way round, you see you've got this part here, and I'm guessing this is the end on the ladder, isn't it? The platform. So this is going to be part of the, you know, as the ladder goes in. So, and that is actually a nice fit. There's some little grooves there. I don't know if you can hear this, but there we go. Once it goes into place, you see, look, it's not in place, so it moves sideways. Once it's in place, it's not going to move. It'll still move up and down, but because of these little, the shape of it, can you see you've got some little tracks there? So once it's in place, it won't move sideways, it just moves up and down. And obviously the up and down will be sorted out with the use of 4 screws. So I believe there's 4. Right, so that is confirmation for me. There was a question I was asking myself: do they give you any spare screws? And the answer would appear to be no. Now, I'm not the kind of person who has a habit of losing screws, but I have lost screws in the past. So there are no spare screws, so I would say be careful. Now, I don't like that screw. That first screw seems to have gone in at an angle. That looks a little bit better. I don't think it went in at an angle because it was a bad part. I think if you don't bring your screwdriver in exactly 90 degrees, it could go in at an angle. Can you see that one's gone in perfectly? and that was because I brought the angle of the screwdriver perfectly, so it's not the part's fault. So they're all in loose and I'm happy with those. So let's keep going until the screws tell me when they want to stop. No, that one, that's the one that went in at an angle. That doesn't seem to want to engage fully. So I'm just going to be very careful. Right, so that whole construction is solid. So even though that screw, I think I've accidentally threaded it. So we'll leave it like that. I think that will be absolutely fine. So can you see how solid that is now? That's really, really solid. So I'm very happy with that. Right, so the next step then is to attach the single platform light, and we need to test fit the single light, which is this piece here, by pushing the pin on the back into the corresponding D-shaped hole. So it looks like it's going in that way. There we go, that's gone in like that. So I'm hoping that's going to be screwed in, because otherwise, no, it's not. You may need to trim the flash to fit. Once you are happy, apply a tiny drop of super glue and push into place. So I can see that this piece is bigger than that hole, obviously, and then once you've applied that, there's to be a little bit sticking out. So I'm going to apply a tiny dab of super glue just on these outer edges, and then that will then be hidden up in there. So let's get our super glue and our cocktail sticks. Oh, I think I've accidentally picked up a brand new bottle of super glue, not the one that I was using before, because the bottle feels very, very stiff. If you watch some of my previous videos, you will see that with that particular brand of super glue, the first 2 or 3 times you use it, the bottle is rather stiff, but as you use it, it loosens up. Now I do normally try to buy 2 bottles of super glue, so that when one runs out, I can start on the other one, then order another bottle, and then by the time they arrive, sorry, so I've got another bottle before the second one runs out. Now that's interesting, because the second fit doesn't fit so well. Why is that? So I done a test fit and it fitted absolutely fine, and then as soon as I've applied glue, it didn't want to go in so well. But that is definitely in now, and you can see there's a little tab there, and I suspect there's going to be a little tiny screw goes into there, because there is a hole. That's what it certainly looks like. So we're obviously just applying this part with super glue just to hold it until we screw it into place, which is good. I'm happy with that. Right, so next we have got the platform lights, and it looks like these are definitely on a sprue, and I see we've got 4 in total. So we need some sprue cutters. So if you guys can just give me 5 seconds. I've actually was using my sprue cutters the other day, and they're just the other side of the room, so I do apologise. So I have my sprue cutters. I do apologise for that slight pause. It was one of those situations where if I stopped the video, it would take me longer to sort things out than I would have actually paused. So you can see that these are the lights. There's a test fit there, and I'm looking at the lenses that I want to use, and I can see that all 4 are going to go into all 3 lights. So it doesn't matter what you do. So so we need to cut 3 lenses off. Now be very careful here, guys. When you cut things off sprues, they do have a habit of flying off. There is always that risk. Now Normally I would hold the target part and then I would cut, but these are still very small. So a little trick that I use, and it's going to be harder for the third one, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a piece of masking tape and I'm going to just fold back one side just so that I can stick it to the table, and I've got this sticky side up, and then I'm going to stick 2 of the lenses so that where I want to cut is pointing out. Then I'm just going to fold that back Now you might be looking at this and think, well, that's a lot of faff, but if I lose one of those lenses, this is going to be so worth it. So where I need to cut is just sticking out of the masking tape, and trim that. Now when I trim the last one, you can see that, yeah, if it flies off I can see where it is, and the 2 pieces that I want are safely in there. Now because I only want one of these 2, I'm just going to mask just one of them. And then that gives me a much larger area. I've just masked the wrong side. How daft am I? Right. So there we go. So now I can hold the masking tape, and then I can cut that piece off, and then we've got a piece in there. So whatever happens, that's not going anywhere. You know, that might have been overkill, but you know, that's isn't it better to have to mask that off and you didn't need to than to not mask when you should have done? So now comes the moment of truth. We need to pop these into here, but they will need to be glued in. So yeah, I can confirm they need to be glued in. That's not a problem because these lenses have got a little post. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my super glue and I'm going to wipe off as much as I possibly can, and I'm just going to shove the cocktail stick into the hole. And what we're aiming to do here is glue the end of the post into the bottom. That way we won't get any glue on the lenses. Can you see how that's gone in? And then what we'll do is we'll repeat that for the other 2 lenses. So we need to remove that one. And I have already test fitted these already, haven't I? You saw me doing them earlier. So little bit of glue, wipe off as much as we can, and then we're just going to shove the cocktail stick into the hole, and we're going to try and get some onto the right in the bottom of the hole. We're not aiming to get any on the actual the silver curvy bit. I have no technical word for that, and these are proving quite tricky to handle. So if you're having a bit of trouble with these, again I'm going to go back to the masking tape, and what I'm going to do is I need a longer piece. If you get a very long piece, and on the non-sticky side, just wrap it around your finger like that, and now you have a sticky pad to pick your piece up with, and then you can apply the piece in like that, and that would actually be a very good way of doing it. So let's see if this actually works rather than coming up with a theory. So cocktail stick, get that right in the bottom of the hole, and then get our piece. And because masking tape doesn't hold things very strong, when we pull the masking tape away, there you go, because the glue is stronger, that's left that in there. So if you do have trouble with fiddly pieces, consider this. I've made that slightly too small for my finger, but if you do find it sliding off, you can just get another piece of masking tape and just tape it to the back of your finger. So can you see now I've got I've got a sticky finger now. I can pick anything up. I just find that very useful when playing with very small parts, because if you do drop that piece, by the very nature of plastic, you know what it's like. It'll drop. The first bounce will go maybe 3 or 4 centimeters, and then the next bounce will go about 3 or 4 meters or 3 or 4 miles, as they always do, and you'll find it 3 years later in somebody else's house. So now we've applied these, we now want to glue this onto the platform, and we can see there's a T-shaped plug, and there's a T-shaped hole, and that's going to go in like that. And that actually, for me, doesn't need glue. That's pushed in there nicely. Now it does state apply a little super glue if necessary. I don't think it's necessary on my part, so but be careful. At the moment I'm looking at this and I'm thinking this is obviously a backing plate, but this is obviously a final piece. I wonder how that's going to end up, because at the moment it doesn't look great. But you know me, guys, I will wait till the end, because I won't judge it on a half finished. So next we need to take the platform handles, and I think this is going to be, yeah, apply a little. So what we're going to do is, we've got 2 holes there and we've got 2 holes there. For this stage, these handles want to go in there like so, and it says apply a little bit of super glue if necessary. Oh, do you know what? They went in very easy, to the point that I thought we'd need super glue, but I would say it's going to be your call, guys. I can get that out fairly easily. If I pull it, it does come, but I would say under normal wear and tear that's not going to fall out. So I do like to try and avoid super glue, because super glue is rather permanent. So this is going to be the next stage. I haven't gone that far yet, so there we go. So that's not going to fall out, but if I tugged it a little bit harder, do you see how that comes out? But the amount that I've just had to tug on that is what I would consider beyond normal use. So I'm going to leave those in not super glued, and I can always change my mind again at a later stage. So that's that so far. So that's that part finished with, and that's quite a nice little part. But we're now working on the axle. So we need the axle and drive shaft and wheel. So do you remember this wheel from issue, I'm sure it was at issue 1. We will be needing that. But first of all, we need the axle and we need the drive shaft, and we are going to, let me check this is correct. Right, that's interesting. So take the drive shaft and identify the end with a screw hole. Align with the corresponding screw hole on the axle. Note the post on the drive shaft should point upwards. Right, so there's a post there that should be pointing upwards, so it's definitely this way around. Complete photo on page 38, which is a little bit further. So what it's asking us to do is pop in an A screw, but the problem with that is, see there's 2 holes, but I think it's definitely going into that hole, because if you tried to get it into that hole, oh I see, right, okay, so if you, I don't know if you can see in there, you've got 1 hole and you've got 1 post, right, and you've got 2 holes there, so I can see that it goes right in. Can you see that that post goes through that first hole, and then we pop an A screw in the middle. So I don't know why that confused me so much. Little bit of a self-assessment there. That's not usually confusing for me, because having that little strengthening bit there is quite common. But there you go. Maybe it's the time of day that I'm filming. I could come up with excuses, but at the end of the day it's now correct. So that screw's going in quite nicely. It's going in at a slight angle though, so I want to try and correct that. It's not in fully, so I'm hoping, yeah, I'm not 100% happy with that, but I think that'll be fine. So that's that in, and that's that stage done. And then next we want to pop in the wheel. So this wheel, can you see you've got the outside? That's obviously the outside because you've got the nuts, and that's going to go in like that. So that is going to be the back wheels, and that needs to be screwed in with an L screw. So can't get the screw out. Let's see how well the screwdriver is magnetised. It is magnetised. I do own one screwdriver that's really good, but it's not magnetised, and it's really hard to use it for part works. Right, so I can see that post is just slightly coming out from the top, which is great because it means that we can't over-tighten. If we over-tighten the screw, that wheel will still move freely. But if it sticks up too much, it's going to create a little gap, and there runs the risk of the wheel wobbling. Can you see there's a bit of a wobble on there because that's where I've not screwed the screw in tight enough. So difficult to hold as you do this, because you don't want to hold it too tight, because obviously a lot of this construction is plastic, so if you hold it too tight you run the risk of snapping it. But that's gone in, and that is perfect. That is absolutely perfect. Can you see there's no play on that wheel, and yet the wheel still moves freely? So that is absolutely spot on construction. I was sort of telling you my concerns as I was building it. That screw has gone in as tight as I can get it without over tightening it, and it's just to the 100th of a millimetre, I would say. So look, absolutely fine. Really happy with that. Sorry, when I'm impressed I will tell you I'm impressed. It's actually this way. It goes this way round, not that way round. But that is absolutely, I am super impressed with that. So next we want to take the hubcap, which thankfully I popped in a little bag to keep safe, and this, I think I'm going to just go back to my masking tape method. No, I'm going to use pliers. I'm going to use tweezers for this because it looks like an awkward piece to hold and manoeuvre. So you'll see that there's a little cutout in there, and there's two posts on the end of this hubcap. That needs to go into place like so. Once I know it's in place, I can let go, and there we go. That's perfect. That's not perfect. Right, let's start that one again. So even using pliers, tweezers. Why am I calling these pliers? Right. I think they might go a certain way. No, it can go one of two positions. There we go, that's gone in fine. So that hubcap just covers up that screw. Now that looks lopsided to me, but it actually isn't. Does that look that is lopsided? Why has that gone in one side but not the there we go? It's because I didn't push it down firmly enough. Now there you go. Don't be scared to really give it a good pull, but hold on to the tyre, not the plastic framework. So push it in like that and that will go in fine. So if you feel you need to take those wheels off, it's going to be really difficult to get that out. So, and in fact I would suggest that you may damage it trying to remove it. So only pop that in if you're absolutely sure you want the wheel to go in. But I am super happy, and you guys know how unimpressed I am with wheels. You know wheels is not my favourite part, and I'm telling you that that's a really good part in my opinion. Right, so lastly, and I don't like this, it's telling us to put 4 axle springs, one there, and there, but it's not telling us to do it's not telling you to do anything with them, and that is the end of stage 6. So just be aware, guys, I'm not going to put my springs on because I don't want to lose them. So just be aware that there, whoops, there and there, we just need to pop the springs in, but I'm not going to until it becomes absolutely necessary. So on to stage 7 then, and we may well do that in stage 7. I don't know, but let's keep them safe. Now I'm just going to quickly go back. I found it. Now I said there were no spare screws. Yeah, there was no spare screw C, but there was one spare for A and one spare for L. So the question I've got is, did they miscount with the C screws, or did they overcount with the A and the L? I don't know. So I don't know if you're meant to get a spare screw. So I will just say be careful, really try not to lose the screws. But if I do get another issue where I get a spare C, then obviously over time the screws will build up. I had a very similar problem with the Ecto 1. I had one issue, I think it was around about stage 8 or stage 10, where I didn't receive any screws whatsoever, and I could have contacted the publisher and said send me some more screws, but you know me, guys, I like to get a crack on with it. So what I did is I took my spare screws from previous issues, and then I looked at spare screws for the future issues I'd got, and I was able to sort of salvage a few. Unfortunately, when you don't have many issues behind you, you don't have many screws. Let me just show you this. I'm up to about issue 80 on this, and can you see how my spare screws are really building up? This is on my Ecto. So at the moment we have very few spares, but obviously I want to keep them just in case I ever need them. It does happen from time to time. Right, so stage 7, we have got another door. Am I enjoying the doors? I really don't know. So right, left hand door front. I think that is the left hand door front, and I've got to be honest with you, I'm not impressed with that finish. That finish is not as good as some of the issues that I've received. A little bit of a wipe, and it's actually not so bad. So maybe it's just got a little bit of production grease in it. Right, so I'm just going to skip on to this piece. This is the right hand door front. Now the left hand door front and the right hand door front are very identifiable, because if you look where the stripes are and then look at the position of the hinge, it's obvious, you know, you can tell which one of those is upside down, can't you, because of the position of the stripes and things. So this is obviously the left and this is obviously the right. But two more pieces that you're going to receive is the left hand door back and the right hand door back. And I'm going to be honest with you, at this particular stage I don't know which is which. I think this is the right hand door back, even though it says L32 on it, and that's because of the detail. You've got two holes and a square, so, and then whereas this one, it's got, so they do look different inside, but I suspect that you can't place those in the wrong place. So we'll have a look. Right, compartment inner is this white box here. We've got all sorts going on in this bag by the looks of things. Right, so we have got a shelf top. Nothing exciting about that, but again, it's one of those things that once everything's put together, it will all come together. And then we have a shelf bottom, and we have allegedly a magnet, and that is not a very good one, or my tweezers are not magnetic. Right, see this, my screwdriver is magnetic, so I find that one quite interesting. Right, so we need to take the shelf bottom and position a magnet between the two tabs. So this is the shelf bottom, and we need to position this magnet, get the 1 the right way up and position that into there. And right, then we need to take the shelf top, test fit the shelf top to the shelf bottom and check you have the correct orientation. How do you know? How do you know if you have the correct orientation? It fits either way. I don't know what to do with that. I don't know which way is the correct orientation. Test fit the shelf top to the shelf bottom and check that you have the correct orientation with the 2 holes as shown in picture 5. Once you're happy, apply a drop of glue to the 2 pins. Right, okay, what I'm going to do then, I'm going to push that in like that. Ah, okay. That didn't want to go in. That seems to have opened itself up again, so I'm going to try it the other way round again. Right, that seems, I don't know guys, I really don't know which is the correct orientation. That doesn't want to go in, but then you turn it round and it seems to want to go in even less, and then as you get that in, right, okay guys, what I'm going to do here is I'm not going to glue this in. I think that's going to hold fairly well. And if there's any problems then I can glue it in. But it says about the orientation and I really don't know which way round is which. So if you guys have any ideas, maybe the parts aren't fitting properly, but I'm just not going to glue it in, and I think that will solve my problem. But look, well, okay, that did come apart. Okay, I think we do need to glue that in, possibly, but it just doesn't want to. I'm just worried by the comment, check that you have the correct orientation, unless they mean check you've got it that way as opposed to having it that way. So yeah, let's go for the glue, guys. Let's go for the glue. So what I'm going to do here then is I'm going to apply straight from the bottle this time. I'm just going to apply a little bit to the pins, not too much, but it doesn't matter too much about the squeeze out because none of this is going to be visible, you know, the underside. Right, there we go, and I'm just going to hold that together, and I think that's going to be okay. So yeah, I can't lift it up. Right, okay, so we have found, see that bit in that, maybe we should have glued the magnet in as well. Right, okay, so take the left hand door front and back. So this is the left hand door. Left hand door, and then we want to apply glue to those pegs. Oops. And right, my theory here is this hole is going to go over this what looks like a magnet, which would explain the positions of the hole. Can you see that? Although that doesn't line up, that's going to go on like that. So we want this way round so that it goes on like that. Lovely, beautiful. So we want to apply a little glue to the two peg holes in the door. So, and I think equally we could apply glue to the pegs, but I am going to do as the instruction says, and that is touch of glue in there, touch of glue in there, and remember what I said in previous issues, you don't need to apply a lot of glue. In fact, less is actually more. If you apply more glue, it's just going to take longer to dry. Isn't it interesting that when you test fit, parts will go together perfectly. As soon as you apply a little bit of glue, you struggle to find the part. So that's that door done. So as we are predicting, the next stage is to do the right hand door. So we've already test fitted this one, so I'm going to go straight in and glue them. So we want to go in that way round. Straight in, that one, absolutely straight in, and that's not sticking. Why is that not sticking? Does that mean perhaps the pegs haven't made contact with the hole? Or maybe I just didn't give it enough time. Yeah, I didn't give it enough time, did I? Should have stuck by now. Right, okay. One thing I do find with this glue is the squidge of glue at the top. When you squeeze straight out of the bottle, it just doesn't seem to work. So what I do is I just squeeze a little tiny drop on there, and then which is why I try to apply onto a piece of plastic, because then I can mix it all together and there's less wastage. That's gone in perfectly, that's absolutely fine, so I'm happy with that. So Next we have, take the compartment inner shelf, ensure that the holes on the shelf are facing upwards, so that's the wrong way, that's the correct way. Ensure that the holes on the shelf are facing upwards before installing it into the brackets on each side of the compartment inner. Do not glue, as the shelf will slide out and will slide in and out to store equipment at a later stage. So you see there's a couple of runners in there, and then there's a hole at the back, and that's just going to run into there like so, like so, like so. Doesn't want to go, look. Right. Not happy with this. Not the easiest shelf in the world to install. Now, there is a rattle in there, and I'm really worried that that magnet is running in the wrong place. But that is my shelf, and I noticed there's two holes in the back there. So I wonder what those holes are, obviously to fix something in place. Right. So now we need to apply a drop of glue to the recess on the left hand side. You know what, I never even spotted these recesses. And then, oh, this is actually really good. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to take the first door, and I can see that it's this one with the lock on, and that's going to be glued in place onto there. And then we know what's coming on the next one. Whoops, that's going to be glued onto there. And then we have a compartment. Look at that. That's, sorry, this is the small little touches that I like. So I will get my proper glue out. I will do it properly. Right, so we need to apply a thin layer of glue. And I hope there's going to be something that will keep this in place, because to glue a piece of metal to a piece of plastic as a long-term thing, that worries me a little bit. Right, so that's in place, and I'm just going to push the door in just to make sure the door does go in. And I've got a little bit of glue splodge there, but I can see that that's not going to be visible in the final model. That I'm very happy with. And then this side we can do the same, and I have already test fitted it, as you saw. So get that layer of glue as thin as you can. Make sure you stick it on the correct way round, because once that glue sets, that's done. Look at that. I am really happy with that. I just hope that that is secure enough. It's not going to swing open all the time, because it doesn't take much. But there was magnets in there. Why is there magnets in there then? That's an interesting question. Right, so that is that done. That's that stage complete, and that is the video done. So I have found these are very two productive issues. We still got all of these little bits. This is looking lovely. I'm really liking that. We've got so basically all we're doing is we're making lots of little bits, and then we are obviously going to bring it all together. And this is what we've accomplished in 1 month's worth of issues. So we have done a lot in 8 issues, I think. But as you know, the first few issues there's usually a little bit of hit and miss. But I think what Agora have done here is they're showing off various parts. They're showing off different construction techniques. We've done mostly gluing, but we've done a little bit of screwdriver work, and this is what we've got for our efforts. We've got lots of different contrasts. We've got an LED in there. They really have shown us what you get. Now this is the first pack is half price, and I believe that's a standard deal that they do all the time. So this is only £50. So this is the point where you decide, do I want to continue with the build at £100 a month? Now my answer is, based on this, yes, I would be more than happy to do that. So guys, I'm going to end the stream here. Thank you very much for watching. It did go on for a bit longer than I thought, but there's a few little complicated things. So hopefully catch me in the next video, which will be next week, where we will be unboxing a brand new pack. So that will be stages 9 and 10. Who knows what we're going to get. So take care guys, and I will see you in next week's episode.